Hi everyone, I've got a game here between Levon Aronian and I am Kolosowski from the Isle of Man Chess Masters 2018. E4 by Aronian, C5 the Sicilian, knight f3, e6, d4, c takes d4, knight takes d4, and now knight to c6, the Taimanov Sicilian. Knight to c3, queen to c7, g3, a6 by black. This move secures the queen on c7, which is a nice square, by stopping any of the white knights coming into b5. Bishop g2, d6, castles, bishop d7, and now knight on c to e2. So Aronian sees that this pawn on d6 is a bit weak, and when you have a weak pawn, you're going to want to push it forward and trade it off. So what Aronian is doing is he's going to play c4 here, and this stops the pawn from pushing and thus it remains weak. Knight f6, and now c4, so you can see white's idea. d5 isn't really possible here. g6. The problem with this move is that after the bishop fianchettos, then d6 is gonna be even more weak, as the bishop won't be defending it anymore. So b3, bishop g7, and now bishop a3. Yeah, this pawn on d6 is quite weak. Rook to d8, queen to d2, preparing to double on the d file. Castles, rook on fd1, knight takes d4, trading pieces when down in space. Knight takes d4, rook on fd8, and now rook on a to c1. So I think white's just really comfortable here. We've got a nice space advantage with this Maroczy-Bind-like formation, and this pawn on d6 is just a huge liability for black. Bishop to c8, knight to c2, and bishop f8. Yeah, that pawn needs to be defended. Bishop to b2, getting on the long diagonal after the bishops come off it from g7. The bishop goes back to g7, and now knight to e3. A very nice square for the knight, preventing d5 once more. You can see that all the white pieces are converging on this square. So b6 by black, bishop to d4, queen to b8, and now bishop to c3. White's not in any hurry here. It's quite hard to find a plan for black. Black tried b5, but the problem is that now e5 by white is very strong, because it's just a fork. White's threatening the knight and the pawn, and black can't really do anything about this. If black takes on e5, then we have queen takes d8 by white, and white's going to get two rooks and a minor piece for the queen, as well as mating threats after bishop takes f8 and bishop h6 as a threat. So that would just be winning. So black instead tried b4, and the idea is shown after bishop takes b4, d takes e5, queen takes d8. Instead of taking back the queen, which would just lose again because of rook takes d8 and bishop takes f8, black plays queen takes b4 here. So black's down in exchange, but at least they're not completely lost. But white's still winning. Queen to d2, queen to b8, and c5. We've got this very strong pass pawn on c5. The rooks are on the open files. We've got the bishop on the long diagonal, central knight. Yeah. e4 by black, queen to d6, queen to a7, and now c6. Pass pawns must be pushed. Knight to d5. Quite a good practical attempt, I think. Black gives up a pawn here, and yeah, just to open up the bishop on c8. Now it can develop. So black now plays to e3, so white still has to be a little bit careful. F takes e3, bishop to h6, but just king h1. Bishop takes e3, and now rook to c2. Yeah, this pawn on c6 is just too strong, and white is up in exchange. Bishop f8, rook to e2, pinning this bishop on e3. Bishop to e6, queen to f3, bishop to b6, and now Aronian finds a nice shot, rook takes e6. And whichever way black takes back, white's just going to play rook d7. So for example, rook takes e6, rook to d7 here. Black could play a check, but then white would just play bishop to f1, and there's a threat on the queen and on just checkmate. Okay, thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed, leave a like. If you didn't enjoy, leave a dislike. Bye.